Hi everyone, this is the E-mini S&P 500 futures. I'm also trading the E-mini Nasdaq on a 1000 tick chart. And so starting off, this is on the ES. We have the overnight high up here and the overnight low down here. These are our key levels. And so I started trading at 8 Central Time, which is this area right here. And notice that we have these two legs up. So this is a two-legged move, but we're finding some resistance at the same high. So this is basically making a double top. Not quite with the bodies. It did make a new high with those bodies, but we're clearly finding support, or excuse me, not support, resistance at this high right here. And so basically you can look at it as uptrend, break, and then the first leg to a new high. Obviously you have first attempt there, and then that second attempt. But on a bigger picture, it's clearly just two legs. And so we attempt to push down here after making that double top. It doesn't go far, it just gets very choppy. We start pushing back up, make this triple top right here before pushing on lower. So this triple top, there's no clear entry for it to get short here, but it does show triple tops are very strong. That's what pushes us into this big two-legged move here. And so we push on lower here. This is a great place for a reversal pattern. Like if you get a push lower and a couple legs back, you can get a failed second entry, but you just don't get that here. We ended up getting a big push down and then a large correction that actually retests the overnight high before pushing lower again. And so when we have this push down here, it's clear that we're making a second leg, but when we get this bounce before the measured move has been met, the measured move is still in play. And so we know that price is likely going to attempt to reach it because that's how price moves. These measured moves act as magnets. And especially when coming off the overnight high, you can expect price to attempt to reach the low. So there's really a lot of things going short here. But anyway, so on a big picture, this is a failed second entry. Notice from the top we have first entry long, second entry long, failure. Sometimes it can be hard to see at first because it's a lot bigger picture. You might need to zoom out a little bit to notice it, but this is a failed second entry. It's just bigger picture. And so I like this for 1-to-1. We did start getting some support here when we had that bounce. We had this bounce here. This looks good for 1-to-1. And, we had this pretty clear, let me put this back on here. This pretty clear trend line blocking here. So you got to consider stuff like that. And so anyway, we push on up here, and now we have this push up, break, and then attempt at a new high. We make that new high, and then price attempts to reverse. Now, after that reversal right there, it's a failed reversal. It's unsuccessful. And so since it can't reverse from this little break and a new high, it's likely attempting a bigger picture new high. And so what that would mean is that you would include this entire leg up, including this initial break, which let me draw this on just for an easier visual. So you have this leg up, break, push to new high, and the attempt to reverse. On a bigger picture, this whole thing is one leg, including on that break to new high. And so since it can't reverse right here, it's likely just a bigger picture break, expecting to make a new high on a bigger picture. Now, in this case here, we don't make the new high, we just make a double top before pushing on lower here, but it does make that attempt. Now, when we push up here, we get this lower high, but the EMA is getting it's just pointing straight up, basically. We have this support, which is a bullish imbalance because you have this range right here, the overnight high and the overnight low, but price can't reach the lows, so that's a bullish imbalance. So there's really no reason to enter short into the EMA right there, but it does end up taking off. And so we push on lower here, and when we reach this measured move, notice that we have two attempts to reverse higher. It's met, goes through it a little bit, first entry short, second entry short before plummeting on down. Now you don't want to enter short directly into that measured move, so unfortunately this, I really don't view this as a good trade. It's right into this other support anyway, which could be a little bit iffy on exactly where it is, so you could be entering into it. It might be on the low of this wick, it might be on the bodies, so it's really just not a perfect area to enter short. So anyway, we push on lower here, and now we get this bigger leg, and so that pushes us into this leg here. We get a break, so we break out of the overnight low. Price is likely going to attempt to fade back in. And you don't want to just buy the breakout, or in this case, short the breakout, just because you're getting red bars pouring out. You want to wait on a retest. And so you want to see two attempts to fade before entering with the breakout. Now, when we push back up here, at first we get all these little small attempts, like here, you get your two attempts right there, but that's a very small picture and it doesn't reach the EMA, so that doesn't count. We push on lower here. But then when we get this push out here, breaking this channel, this is our real first bigger picture attempt. So we have the overnight low here, we break out, we have our first attempt to fade, break, and then our second attempt to fade. So we actually get two attempts to fade right there. It was getting a bit choppy. Wasn't wanting to enter it right into the EMA, even though we were finding some support there. I was thinking we could get something like this. Because we have this up measured move still in play. It's a bit choppy. I wasn't wanting to enter into the EMA, so I just wanted a little bit more push up to get a retest. But it's not a horrible area to look for a short. It just didn't set up perfectly here, so I did end up skipping that. We push on lower here. If we got in a lower high or just got something that got below the EMA, we could have found a short here, but I was not wanting to enter into the EMA, especially after all this and everything. It's really just not the best area. So anyway, we push on lower here. We start getting a little bit choppy at these lows right here, which I do want to quickly mention. At first it was like this, and then after you get a couple breakouts and it finds support, you can pretty quickly lower it there. And so we're just finding support here. It's getting very choppy, nothing clear to enter. You obviously don't want to enter short right into this. You can see from here we have 2 legs up right here, and when you draw this trend line right here, it is making that third bounce, but it's still not worth entering right into these lows right here. It's very clear support right there. And so we push on lower here. We continue lower. We just get these little shallow corrections, and then we get one thing I want to quickly show. So at first this low is right here, and then as we push down to it, we overshoot a little bit, just a little pierce through, and then price immediately attempts to reverse. You can kind of see there's 2 attempts in there. A little bit hard to see because it's choppy, but you have a push up, a break, and then these 2 smaller pushes up, basically just make that second push up. And so no short here, unfortunately. It just doesn't set up anything clear. We push on lower, and now we've reached this bigger measured move. Whoops, I didn't mean to move that. And so we reach the bigger measured move. We have these 2 legs down right here, and as we reach it, we pierce through it a little bit, and then we get a sharp push out. So this is a clear reaction to this measured move. These measured move levels are very important to draw. This is why I wanted up here price to reach it and get that retest, because it's much more likely to get a successful trade rather than just right from there. And so we get a push up, break, price attempts to make a new high for this little uptrend that formed, but it's unsuccessful. Very sideways and choppy right there. You don't want to enter short on that. It doesn't even have a good bar. And then we push on lower, make a new low, and so now we have a count reset. We get this push on up, we get a break. Now price could attempt to make a new high when we can look to get a short at these highs, because very clear resistance at these highs. If we get a couple legs up there, a 2-legged move, and it's holding, that would basically be a triple test, because you'd have this bounce here, this bounce here, which I know there's 2 bounces there, but on a bigger picture, this is really just 1 push up and then a push back down. And so we could have gotten a bigger picture triple test right here, which is great for a short. And even coming off of this major measured move, if you get 2 pushes up and it's still holding, and then you get below the EMA, then you can still take a short, even though you just came off this measured move. But you do want to be careful of not entering into it. But we just don't get anything here. So we push on lower here, and then which I do want to quickly show, as you get these pierces through, you can look to extend the trend line, because overshoots lead to breaks. But if you get an overshoot and price doesn't break and it just keeps on pushing lower and getting another overshoot, then you just look to extend the channel. And as you can see, it fits pretty well. You get it right off there, right off that body, and then it wicks right off of it there before having a huge push out. And so we could get a bigger picture retest, because price action just gets bigger picture as more time goes on. Price action is like a fractal of, it's just like a fractal of a fractal. It just keeps on going. Like if you get a higher time frame chart, it looks the same. You can read the chart the same, and that's just how it works. And so on a bigger picture, on a higher time frame chart, it'll be clearer to see 1 leg here. Even though it's made up of a bunch of little legs in between and these 2 bigger legs that are a little bit clearer to see, it's still 1 leg on a bigger picture starting from the high. And so what we could be getting here is a push down, and we could get a 2-legged break. And so a couple legs out like this, and we could just get a big picture 2-legged retest. And this is, if it's set up like this, this technically would be a failed second entry on a bigger picture. Starting from the top, first entry long, second entry long, failure. But, I understand it can be harder to see, second entries and failed second entries on a bigger picture like this, but that is how it works. When you see a little failed second entry, say let's just do it to the count. Like to the count, you have a failed second entry here because you have push up and then a little tick higher right there, and so you have first entry short, second entry short, failure. Now this is not a good failed second entry setup. I'm just using it as an example, but you get that on a very small picture. And a wick on a very, very small picture, a tick lower or a tick higher is basically like a leg. It's like a little trend, very, very tiny small picture, but it works the same on a bigger picture. It just takes a lot longer to form. And so you can use these areas for context. So if you have a big picture failed second entry, you might not want to take a trade like that, where you're entering with some massive target, some massive stop loss. I understand if you don't want to do that, you're not going to, but you have good context. And so a lot of times what will happen is as price gets up to that area and you have a big picture setup, you can look for a smaller picture setup with more confidence. Like say you push up here and then get a push lower, a great trade would be a failed second entry. If you're not willing to take a huge bar on a big picture setup, then you can more confidently take a smaller picture setup that forms, and on a big picture it'll just look like it's pushing on down, but you zoom in on the smaller picture and you can get another trade. And so that's kind of just how price action works. The price action levels, they just get bigger as time goes on. You got to spot them, and yeah, that's really going to do it for this video. We're about 12 minutes in. I was going to go over the NQ a little bit more, which here it is. So, we have these couple legs up here, which again, on a bigger picture is one leg. And after those couple legs up, price attempts to reverse. It successfully reverses. We start the reversal here. We make this first entry long, second entry long, failure. So this is a big picture failed second entry with a good reaction off the overnight high. Notice that from here on this low, we have this uptrend, break, new high. So this uptrend is played out. So it has confluence from this pattern with this trend right here. And also we have room to this support down here. This is a great looking trade right here. And so we push on lower here, which, sorry, I'm not going to be as detailed on the NQ. I'm just going to go over it really quick. We push on lower here, then we get this leg, and now you can see that from here we have a clear two-legged move right here. And notice that measured move, price attempts to reverse. It doesn't successfully reverse right from there, but it clearly has an attempt. This is right in that area on the ES, because the NQ and the ES will follow each other somewhat, not totally, but a little bit. So right as this measured move, I'm going to unclutter that really quick. As this measured move was met, notice we had those two attempts to reverse right there, but it was after a count reset. Same thing right here. We had that attempt to reverse at that measured move. Price push on lower. We have another attempt before getting, a little overshoot and then a bigger spike up. So they do follow each other somewhat, but not totally. Like you're not always going to get a trade in the same area on them, but sometimes you will. So I do like trading the NQ at the same time. I kind of wish I started doing it a long time ago because price action just works the same on all markets. I mean, like markets can behave differently, but price action is the same. It's just people's emotions. That doesn't change. And so anyway, that's probably going to do it for this video. I'll go through a little bit more. So we push on lower here, we get this measured move. After we get this leg down, we start pushing up. You can kind of see it's not the cleanest, but you do have a little failed second entry right there. After such a sharp push down like that, you would want to see a clear reversal pattern. This one is, you just have this uptrend, break, and then your first attempt higher, and then you're already entering on that second attempt, but it's like right in this chop right here, and it's already making the new high as you're entering. Ideally, you'd see a push up and then two clear legs back holding on the EMA, something more like this, which I know that it might be hard to visualize with the price action in the way, but this is a more ideal looking pattern. You push up, couple legs back, you're still expecting a new high for this uptrend right here, and you basically get a second entry from that high, making the failed second entry, not just like a not just like an uptrend break and then it's already making the new high right there and it's sideways. It's just not ideal here. So we push on up here, we get this uptrend, small break, push to new high, and I do want to show, let me get that perfect really quick. So you have this uptrend right here, it's holding off those highs, holding off those lows, and now you get this little break and a push to a new high, and then price attempts to reverse. Now this is a very small picture, in this case it was enough. Now how often do you see a little break, push to a new high, and then price make a bigger, more clear break, and then a push to a new high on a bigger picture? You see that all the time. But sometimes this will be enough. And so if price starts really reversing on down and it just is not holding, then you want to switch gears and stop looking to make a new high. You just want to look for a reversal. You want to see 2 pushes up at a new high and then enter on the failure. So it doesn't happen here. Ideally, what could have happened in this downtrend, because we have these, which I do want to show. The lows were down here at first. Well, at first they were right here actually. You draw them off those highs, put them there. It overshot quickly, but it did not end up breaking after. Overshoots tend to lead to breaks. In this case here, it ended up just pushing on lower, and so you can just look to extend that trend line. And so, but I kind of lost track of where I was. I was saying, oh yeah, with this uptrend, we have a break right here. You can see we have first attempt higher, second attempt higher, failure. It's a little bit harder to see because it's all within this range and it's sideways and it's not like it's very clear, but you have a 2-legged break, so 2 legs back, breaking out, because obviously this is all one leg on a bigger picture, including this small break to new high. You get your 2-legged break, and then you get 2 attempts at a new high, and then it fails. And so, unfortunately, no way to get in on that failure. You're just entering right into support, but it just takes on off. And so we push on lower here, no clear shorts on the way down. We reach this measured move, and like I said, we had that reaction like I mentioned earlier. And so I'll draw this right here to show the measured move, and we push through, we get that push up. Again, this is a great place for a reversal pattern. I believe I mentioned that on this one. You push up right here, you can get a reversal pattern. Again, we're on the ES now. You can get a reversal pattern and take a long as you have room to these highs, because downtrends are not always going to hold after the measured move is met, but you still don't want to bet on it breaking. So you can take a reversal pattern, you just need room. It's not a good idea to enter right into that trend line there. And so, same thing here. You can look for your reversal pattern, but in this case, you have to worry about the overnight low. On the ES, the overnight low is obviously way up there, but that's what like I said, they follow each other, but they don't totally follow each other, these two markets. And so anyway, we don't get that reversal pattern. We just kind of get this very choppy lower high, which of course, as you can see, does not work. It's not a good setup. Push on lower, make this double bottom, push on up again, another attempt, but it fails. We push on lower, it gets choppy. Now, when you overshoot again, because notice that we're overshooting this trend again, and you just keep on overshooting, you can just keep on looking to extend this trend line. Notice here we have a good bounce, slight pierce, but then it reconfirms there, and then you get this little overshoot, and then it just takes off. So we'll see how this trend line holds. I'm kind of curious to see how it will hold after this overshoot, because whoops, did not mean that. Because that's quite a reaction to an overshoot, so I'd like to see how this holds, because we could push lower and make a failed second entry, like something like this. Let me just quickly draw this up. Yeah, I have the path tool. I just don't like the way that it works, really. It kind of messes with me. But so I just draw the arrows. But anyway, we can get a failed second entry like this. It's a reversal pattern from this spike up right here to continue going with this downtrend. Now, if we get this reversal pattern, that would include our 2 attempts to fade, because we'd break back out, get our first attempt to fade, second attempt to fade, failure. So a fade failure. And at the same time, that would be uptrend, break, first attempt higher, second attempt higher, failure. Now, obviously, I'd want these a little bigger to actually reach that overnight low there. But, this is a great place to get a short. So we'll see what happens. And yeah, that's going to do it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it and hope you learned something from it. And thanks for watching. I'll see y'all next time.